Hello to the chicas, hello to the chicas. In today's video we are going to talk about quality of pieces, what makes a piece good versus bad, and somewhat strangely we are going to talk mostly about knights today. Bishops usually are quite easy to determine when they are good and when they are bad. When they are entombed behind a pawn chain, it is very easy to identify a bad bishop. The stone wall is a textbook example. That bishop is not having a lot of fun being behind all these pawns, many of which are fixed. But when it comes to knights, it can be an interesting story. Obviously, when they are on an outpost, they are very good. But the rest of them is rather vague, or at least it appears to be the case, as I was to witness this when this morning I analyzed the game on stream, submitted by a very passionate and generous viewer who wanted his game analyzed, which I did, and we encountered a very interesting point which I would like to share with you today. The game is a Scandinavian, reasonably poorly played by white, who is our friend. 1500s, by the way, is the rating range we are talking. Rapid. The opening is decent, but you shouldn't put this knight in front of the c pawn. In this Portuguese variation, we should play d4, and then when the knight lands on d5, we should kick it with c4 as well, obtaining a greater center. So, for example, c4, knight f3, and then just complete development, bishop out, bishop out, bishop out, and white is doing splendidly well in this setup. So knight c3 is definitely suboptimal, because now we no longer have the ability to kick the knight with c4. More on that soon. h3 takes bishop c4. For a 1500 level, this is pretty decent chess. Like, with developing, with castling, it is looking all schmicko until we get to the key point, which is right here. At this point in the game, unfortunately, our protagonist has made a move that nearly made me fall off my chair. He took on d5. And needless to say that that was an absolute eyesore of a move to me. And I'm like, oh my god, what are you doing, dude? Let's go back. And then I asked him what made him trade. And he was quite surprised that I questioned the validity of the trade, which appeared to be crystal clear to him that it was the right call, because, as he put it, he traded a bad knight for a good knight. And that made me think that sometimes people have perceptions that, well, they are wrong, but that's okay. But perceptions that on surface level tend to be perfectly valid, and only when you start digging do you realize that they are actually fundamentally flawed. And so I went like, well, that's completely wrong, but it's very interesting. So let me break this down for you, which is what I'm going to do now in this video too. So the first thing that we need to note is that the knight on d5 is, indeed, it is in the center. So that's where it's meant to be. However, is it really a good knight per se? And that requires a little bit more digging, because first of all, what we need to see is this knight on an outpost? The answer is no. d5 is not an outpost. I can kick you with a pawn move from there, although that pawn move is quite far away from us right now. But it's not an outpost. Second, the knight is not posing any threats whatsoever, and is not really part of any major black operation at the moment either. Consequently, that knight is not only not that great, but there was also zero urgency about engaging with it in shape of a trade. Last but not least, and this is also very important that we understand, that this trade allowed black to step up a pawn that was not in the center to be in the center, changing the structure altogether in favor of black. And now black is clearly better. But there is more that I have to offer to you than that. It also made me think about the comparison of the knights. And very surely and quickly, I came to the following argument, which I think is very compelling. So when you go like bad knight, good knight, hold on a tickerino. So what if I put this knight in the center like a chess player, right? By the way, attacking the bishop, since we prefer bishops over knights. So I would anticipate this bishop to slide back. And now we have a little bit of a look-see, as we like to call it in Straya. Have a look at this knight and compare it to its body on d5. Which one is better? And you come to the conclusion that actually the e4 knight has a lot brighter future than its counterpart on d5. Why? Well, first and foremost, because after bishop b3, once again, I can kick you out of here. Goodbye d5 knight forever. Right? I can do this anytime I wish. In very strong contrast, and I want you to observe this. When I play this, I do not compromise my position. Not at all. As a matter of fact, I increase the value of my position by virtue of adding another pawn to my central formation, admittedly on the side center, but still, these two guys now are controlling all central squares. On black side, that is. So it's definitely added value. Now compare that to what black can do to this knight. The only way to kick it, meaning not offering trade, but to actually kick it, is f5. Now that, in very strong contrast, is a horrid, absolutely disgustingly ugly move that creates an outpost for our other knight and the backward pawn on e6. My c4 move made my position better while kicked the opponent's knight out. f5 ruins, absolutely wrecks black's position by positional means because of the backward pawn and the outpost on e5. So overall, my e4 knight is actually a world champion stallion compared to the one on d5. Now black can of course aim to trade them, and there's not an awful lot I can do. Granted, that is a valid argument or counter argument, but still, me going out of my way to trade into this knight on d5, technically trading not exactly equal value, but let's even forget about that, and allowing my opponent to step up like that, not in a million years. And apparently, it appears that for many on 1500 level, this is a major dilemma. And actually, I only realized how much of a non-obvious it was when a lot of people in the chat commented that I never thought that there was so much depth to a basic trade like this, and I understand it so much better now that you explained the idea of knight moves and c4. And so I felt like, wow, this is a YouTube video and a half. So yeah, when you are trading stuff like this, even when you are trading like for like pieces, knight for knight, it still doesn't mean you are trading equal value. Especially, I should rather say, it doesn't mean that the position is going to remain the same just because you traded technically equal value. Not at all. This is a major quality change from white's perspective going south, from black's perspective looking great. And so be very careful when you label certain pieces as great, because very often you can find that, well, actually, that knight is really not that good. And now it's getting kicked out from the center, and white obtains a large central pawn formation, a much, much, much better choice than the text, which was knight takes d5, after which indeed black pulled ahead in the game and eventually ended up winning it. So I hope I managed to clear up a little bit of a fog. Could be a good discussion starter. If you have got games where you traded in a way that you thought was great, but it turned out it wasn't, I would love to see some more examples of that. But that is it for me for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this little snippet of positional decision making, and I will be back with the next video. Please don't forget to sub, to like, to comment down below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.